Check, 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 check. Good morning. The speakers for this morning's press conference will walk out of that door in 25 seconds. The news release associated with this matter will be going out imminently. We just got the documents that we filed in relation to it back from court. They will be attached to the news release. If you or your desk or whomever haven't seen it, please let me know afterwards. The defendant in this case is expected to appear in court at 1 p.m. this afternoon. That will be in the Roybal building, the red building about 2 blocks east of here. So we'll do this. Joe McNally first. Akil Davis from the FBI will do a little Q&A and send you on your way.
Good morning. My name is Joe McNally. I'm the acting United States Attorney in the Central District of California. I'm joined by Akil Davis, the Assistant Director in Charge at FBI Los Angeles, Special Agent in Charge Amir Asai, Assistant United States Attorneys Ian Yanello and Kadar Bhatia. We're here today to announce the filing of a federal criminal charge against an individual who earlier this month recklessly operated a drone that collided with a firefighting aircraft. On January 9th, the Pacific Palisades fires were raging. Firefighters were desperately trying to stop the destruction being caused by the fires and save lives. Critical to those efforts were firefighting aircraft that were conducting all-out assaults in the area surrounding the wildfires. Contrary to law and basic common sense, some individuals were recklessly operating drones around the firefighting relief efforts. They were operating drones in areas specifically being used by firefighting aircrafts conducting assaults against the fires. Today, we announced the filing of a federal criminal charge against one individual who was engaged in that conduct, a Los Angeles area man who launched a drone, lost sight of it, and that drone eventually collided with a Super Scooper firefighting aircraft, one of the most important firefighting aircrafts in the firefighting arsenal. After an intense and in-depth investigation by the FBI, federal prosecutors today filed a criminal charge against Peter Tripp Ackerman. Mr. Ackerman has agreed to accept responsibility and plead guilty to 1 count of unsafe operation of an unmanned aircraft. As part of his plea agreement, Mr. Ackerman had admitted that he acted recklessly, and his conduct posed an imminent threat to firefighting crews. Once he enters his guilty plea, Mr. Ackerman will face up to 1 year in federal prison. The ultimate sentence imposed will be up to a federal judge at the time of sentencing. As part of his plea agreement, Mr. Ackerman has agreed to pay full restitution to the government of Quebec, which supplied the plane, as well as an aircraft repair company that repaired the aircraft. That amount is estimated to be around $65,000. Mr. Ackerman has agreed to complete 150 hours of community service that is directed at wildfire relief efforts here in Southern California. In documents filed this morning, Mr. Ackerman admitted to serious facts and serious conduct, including that he recklessly operated the drone, and that drone posed an imminent safety hazard to the crew of the Super Scooper airplane. Mr. Ackerman admitted that on January 9th, while the Pacific Palisades fire still raged, He went to the top of a parking garage at the 3rd Street Promenade in Santa Monica. He launched a drone from that location and flew it around where the wildfires were raging in an effort to observe the damage. The drone flew about 1.5 miles until he lost sight of the drone. While he was flying the drone, it collided with the Super Scooper carrying 2 crew members who were attempting to fight the blaze. The impact caused a 3x6 hole in the left wing of the aircraft. The plane was able to land safely, and eventually maintenance crew began to repair the aircraft. The aircraft was out of commission for several days while we were in the middle of the wildfires. For approximately 5 days, it was not being able to be used by fire department and other crews. The fire department wasn't able to use that plane to fight the fires for approximately 5 days. Flying drones during times of emergency poses an extreme threat to our firefighting personnel who are out there trying to help people. Flying drones during emergency compromises the ability of police and our firefighters to conduct emergency operations. As this case demonstrates, if you fly a drone around wildfires and you do so recklessly, law enforcement is going to find you and we're going to hold you accountable. I want to thank our firefighters, our first responders who are out there on the line every day trying to protect the public and do their jobs. I want to thank the FBI, the Department of Transportation, OIG, the FAA, and CAL FIRE, as well as the LA Fire Department for their partnership in bringing this important case. A message here is deterrence to the public that, again, do not fly drones in areas where firefighters are raging. And I also want to thank the AUSAs who are responsible for the prosecution, Assistant U.S. Attorneys Kadar Bhatia, Ian Yanello, and our partners, again, at the FBI for all their good work. With that, I'll turn it over to Assistant Director in Charge, Akil Davis.
Good morning. My name's Akil Davis. I'm the Assistant Director in Charge of the FBI's Los Angeles Field Office. We're here today to talk about a defendant taking responsibility for flying a drone that collided with a firefighting aircraft. While that could have resulted in catastrophe, the plane landed safely. Regardless of the intentions of the pilot, our investigators have drilled down on this case for approximately 2 weeks. I'd like to really thank our teams at LAX, along with their partners at LAFD and CAL FIRE, who worked on this investigation in order to bring the subject to justice. They used every investigative avenue and worked with the public and private sector to get to the bottom of this case. And again, I am very proud of their hard work. There's no evidence at this time that the defendant intentionally caused this collision. However, flying drones in a restricted area could cause a catastrophe. Going forward, we're going to be dealing with more drones, and the likelihood of a disastrous result will increase. As you all know, we have World Cup coming up to the Southland. We have the Super Bowl followed on that, and then culminating in 2028 with the Olympics. All of those events will bring significant drone activity in which the FBI stands at the ready to investigate those crimes with our counter-UAS, our counter-drone task force, and our ground intercept teams. The FAA has very strict guidelines about registering drones and where drones can be flown. The onus is on the pilot. If firefighters are putting out a fire with aircraft, that should be a clue. As CAL FIRE has said, if you fly, we can't. Meaning they cannot use their most sophisticated technique to attack these wildfires. Lack of common sense and ignorance of your duty as a drone pilot will not shield you from criminal penalties. Please respect the law, respect the FAA restrictions, and respect our firefighters. Thank you, and I'll turn it back over to United States Attorney Joe McNally.
We'll take a couple of questions. Yes, sir. Yeah, as I indicated, the drone collided with a firefighting aircraft, a Super Scooper. And when that plane landed, maintenance crews observed the drone wreckage in parts of the plane. We were able to, when I say we, our law enforcement partners who I mentioned earlier, work together to take that wreckage, trace that back to a specific drone, and then we work to identify that individual. It required a substantial amount of effort, search warrants, other things that we do typically in cases. It was a complex process, but we were able to identify that person, and anybody else who engages in that conduct should have confidence that we'll identify them too. Yeah. Yes, sir. Yeah, my understanding was, like a lot of individuals, he was curious about what was happening in that area. If we go back to, January 9th, the roads in those areas were closed. It was restricted area, and people wanted to see, for a variety of reasons, the carnage that was happening in Southern California. And my understanding, my take from the case is that was his intent. The problem with that starts off as curious conduct is, with the amount of firefighting planes you have in that area dropping so they can get water in the Pacific Ocean, it interferes with those operations. And so it's not the time to fly drones anytime that we have these emergencies in Southern California.
Can you elaborate on how?
Yes, ma'am. So my understanding is that under FAA regulations, you have to register your drone under certain circumstances. I don't have any information as to whether or not he had a license or whether he would have needed one under those circumstances.
Can you elaborate on the reaction of the suspect when he was contacted by you guys?
Well, I'll highlight the fact that he has agreed to plead guilty and accept responsibility, which I think is important here. He was ultimately contacted in connection with the conduct, and we've reached an agreement where he's agreed to accept responsibility through a plea where he does face prison time. He's agreed to pay full restitution, and he has agreed to commit himself approximately 150 hours of community service in wildfire relief. Yes, as I indicated before, he launched it from the 3rd Street Promenade, and then it was about a mile and a half where he flew it to, and he lost sight of the drone. I'm sorry? I'm not going to get into whether or not he was able to control it. I mean, what I would say is that he hit a firefighting aircraft, and so in my view, he was being reckless and that he couldn't see it, and he was in an area that he shouldn't have been. Other questions?
Did this event prevent other similar aircraft from their firefighting efforts that night?
I didn't hear your question.
Did that event prevent other similar aircraft from their firefighting efforts that night?
So my understanding is it did not stop other aircraft from continuing to operate. It did stop that aircraft from operating from about January 9th to January 14th. And the additional context I'll give there is this is a plane from Quebec. So we're short on equipment. We're in the largest wildfire ever to hit Southern California. We need all the planes that we can have at the time, and now we have one down for five days. So specifically, no, there were other aircraft that flew that day, but this one's down for 5 days, and that has a real impact on operations.
Nowadays, there's a large variety of
So we have brought the most serious provable offense that we have evidence of right now, and that is an offense where I referenced earlier, a reckless operation of an unmanned aircraft that carries a term of up to 1 year imprisonment. That's the charge that's supported by the facts.
Nowadays, there's a large variety of drones available to the public. Do we know what kind of drone it was?
I'll refer you to the plea documents if that information's in there. It was obviously a drone that was capable of flying that type of distance, and obviously had a camera to cover that.
So hold on, wait, two more. Frank?
Can you tell us a little more about the defendant? How old is he? What's his occupation?
We can get you. I want to limit our comments to the public record. Tom can get you, I think, any additional details we can provide on that. I'll say that he was a professional in Southern California. By all accounts, went out there because he was curious. He has no criminal history, and Tom can get you any other details on that.
One more.
One other question from somebody who hasn't asked one? Yes. Yeah, so I would say a couple of things. First of all, thank you to all the partners out there who came to the aid of Southern California. Second, we responded by protecting planes and our firefighting personnel. And when I say we, really the leadership of the FBI, FAA, DOT, by deploying counter-drone surveillance teams that were out there detecting drones and making contact with any individual flying in the zone. And so we've been proactive about taking measures to stop that conduct. And then I think the third level of that is, again, the message here is deterrence. If you do this, we are going to track you down and you are going to be prosecuted. And so government agencies that give assets should have confidence that we are going to support them and make sure their people are safe by being proactive with counter surveillance and also prosecuting people who engage in this conduct. And so I think by those two steps, I can say with confidence that our firefighter personnel are safer. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The news release has been issued. The documents, charging document, and the plea agreement were attached. If you didn't get it, come see me. And again, we expect the defendant to make his first appearance in Roybal, 2 blocks east of here, hopefully at 1 o'clock. But, it's court. We'll see how that goes. Thank you. Thank you. Let me see what kind of